Irfan Halim lived on the edge of the Ilarian colony, a cluster of human settlements perched on the dusty plains of an unremarkable planet. While most people saw him as a quiet engineer who fixed broken machines, Irfan had a gift that no one around him fully understood. He could look at a piece of metal, a frayed wire, or a dead circuit and see what it once was, and more importantly, what it could be. For him, nothing was truly lost, only waiting for someone to bring it back to life. That afternoon, Irfan wandered through the sprawling scrapyard that had become a marketplace for discarded technology. Rusted ships leaned at odd angles, their hulls riddled with dents and faded paint. Small robots, some barely functioning, scuttled across the yard like insects, carrying bundles of scrap or assisting their owners. The air smelled of oil, metal, and a faint tang of ozone from sparking circuits. Irfan's eyes fell on a corner of the yard where the auction signs hung crooked. Among the clutter, a ship sat quietly, almost invisible. It was a small transport model called the Wanderlight, and it looked completely abandoned. Its hull was dented, paint peeling in long strips, and one wing hung slightly lower than the other. It looked, at first glance, completely worthless. He murmured to himself, brushing a layer of dust from a side panel. The ship's surface was cold, and beneath the grime he could see faint traces of a design older than most ships in the colony. Something about its frame whispered of care, of precise craftsmanship, and of secrets hidden inside. The auctioneer, a tall woman with a metal arm, began her call. Lot 73, the Wanderlight, a classic transport, no engine guarantee, no life support guarantee, sold as is. Opening bid, 50 credits. Irfan raised an eyebrow. 50 credits? That was nothing for a ship of this size, even in its ruined state. Most people would walk away from a ship like this without a second thought. But Irfan had a feeling. Maybe it was instinct. Maybe it was hope. He raised his hand. The bidding escalated quickly. Others saw only rust and dust, but Irfan could see potential. And then, with a final, almost accidental move, he won the bid. The ship was his, completely his. It took 3 days to tow the Wanderlight back to his small workshop on the outskirts of the colony. The ship's size made it difficult to maneuver through narrow streets, and the ground beneath groaned as its old engines were dragged across the dusty roads. By the time it reached his property, Irfan was exhausted, but excitement burned in him. This was more than a project. It was a discovery. Inside the ship, he found the remains of what appeared to be an old crew cabin. Dust covered every surface, and wires hung like cobwebs from the ceiling. On the control panel, lights flickered weakly but never fully powered up. And in the corner, half buried under a pile of insulation and old cargo crates, he discovered a robot. Its metal body was scratched and dented, and a layer of dust coated its surface. A small plaque read, Unit 7. Irfan knelt beside it. The robot's design was simple yet elegant, with smooth joints and a body that suggested it could move quickly if operational. Its eyes were dark, lifeless circles, but Irfan felt something stir in his chest. He could sense that Unit 7 wasn't just any old robot. There was a complexity there, a depth, even if it was buried beneath years of neglect. For hours, he cleaned, repaired, and connected the robot to his workbench. Sparks flew, circuits hummed, and wires reconnected under his careful hands. Finally, with a click and a soft hiss, the robot's eyes lit up. A dim blue glow pulsed within them, and a voice, calm and slightly distorted, spoke. System online, partial memory restoration, awaiting directives. Irfan smiled. Hello, Unit 7. I'm Irfan. I think we're going to be partners. The robot's head tilted slightly. Acknowledged. Operator identity unknown. Memory fragmented. Core directive incomplete. Its voice carried no fear, no emotion, just a mechanical precision that made Irfan shiver slightly. There was intelligence here, and something else, something buried, waiting. Over the next few days, Irfan focused on the ship. The Wanderlight's engine was silent, its life support dead, and the navigation systems offline. He repaired what he could, bringing the ship to minimal operational status. Lights flickered to life support hummed faintly, and the control panels responded to his touch. Through it all, Unit 7 followed him, assisting where it could. Its movements were smooth, precise, almost human, though its voice remained monotone. One evening, as Irfan worked on a damaged circuit near the engine room, the robot spoke again. "Operator, authorization required. Core data inaccessible. Do you wish to continue?" "I don't know what that means," Irfan said, wiping sweat from his forehead. "But I want to see what this ship can do. I want to know what's inside." Unit 7 remained still for a moment, then slowly nodded. "Acknowledged. Proceeding with caution." It was during this process that Irfan began to notice strange anomalies. The ship seemed to respond to him. A control panel he hadn't touched lit up briefly. A door he hadn't opened slid open on its own, revealing a small maintenance corridor. Sometimes, faint patterns of light flickered along the walls, forming shapes that seemed almost like symbols. Irfan tried to dismiss it as a malfunction, but deep down, he felt the ship was alive in some way, aware of his presence. Unit 7 also began to change. Its movements became more fluid, its memory fragments sharper. One evening, after a long day of repairs, the robot stood silently, its glowing eyes fixed on Irfan. Then it spoke in a voice that sounded almost reverent. "Core sealed. Primary directive incomplete. Searching for the rightful bearer." Irfan froze. The words were cryptic, almost like a puzzle. "Bearer? What does that mean? Are you talking about me?" The robot's head tilted. "Confirmation required. DNA signature unknown. Operator identity matches historical records. Partial alignment detected." Irfan's mind raced. Historical records? Alignment detected? He shook his head, trying to clear the confusion. He was just an engineer, a fixer of broken things. He had no idea what this robot was talking about. But there was a pull he couldn't ignore, a feeling that the Wanderlight and Unit 7 were waiting for him, that they had a purpose beyond the scrapyard, beyond his workshop, that they were meant to awaken now with him. Night fell, and Irfan finally leaned back against a wall of his workshop, exhausted but restless. The Wanderlight loomed outside, its silhouette dark against the stars. He wondered what secrets lay within its hull, what stories the old ship could tell, and what role he had been chosen for, even if he didn't understand it yet. As he drifted toward sleep, Unit 7's soft voice echoed in the quiet room. "Operator, destiny approaching. Prepare for activation." Irfan stared at the ceiling, heart racing. He had never been a man of adventure. He had always stayed close to the ground, close to what he could fix, what he could understand. Yet here, with a dead ship and a forgotten robot, he felt the stirrings of something greater, something that might change his life, and perhaps the fate of many others. The next morning, he returned to the ship with renewed determination. He had already repaired most of the basic systems, but he knew that the Wanderlight had more hidden within its metal frame than he could see. Unit 7 guided him through the process, its voice calm and methodical. Together, they worked on restoring power circuits, stabilizing the life support, and reconnecting navigation modules. Hours turned into days. The ship slowly began to awaken, responding to Irfan's touch as if recognizing its new operator. Small displays flickered to life, showing star charts that were outdated but still surprisingly detailed. The engines hummed faintly, a sound that made Irfan's heart beat faster. And through it all, Unit 7 remained at his side, occasionally speaking lines of fragmented memory that hinted at a past long forgotten. Finally, after a week of work, the ship was almost fully operational. Irfan stood on the bridge, staring out at the horizon where the colony's lights twinkled faintly. He felt a sense of awe, mixed with a hint of fear. This ship was no ordinary transport. It was something ancient, something waiting for a person like him. And somehow, Unit 7 knew more than it let on. Then, without warning, the robot spoke a line that made Irfan's blood run cold. "Your DNA signature matches the last captain's encoded line. The ship belongs to you." Irfan's mind went blank. He had no idea what that meant, but he knew one thing for certain. His life had just changed forever. He was no longer just a repairman on the edge of a dusty colony. He had become the owner of an old ship and its guardian robot, both of which carried secrets older than the colony itself. And those secrets were waiting for him to discover them. He looked at Unit 7, whose eyes glowed softly in the dim light of the bridge. What do we do now?" he asked, his voice barely more than a whisper. Unit 7 remained silent for a moment, then replied, "We prepare. Activation will continue. Destiny is near." Irfan nodded, feeling a mixture of excitement and fear. He didn't know what destiny awaited him, but he knew he couldn't turn back. Not now. The Wanderlight and Unit 7 were part of him, and he was part of them. Together, they would uncover the mysteries buried within the ship, and perhaps uncover something that could change the future of humanity itself. And with that thought, he began the first real journey of his life, not through the stars yet, but into the secrets of a ship that had waited centuries for the right person to awaken it. A journey that would challenge everything he knew and push him beyond the limits of his imagination. A journey that would ultimately reveal that even in the forgotten corners of the galaxy, greatness could be found, if one had the courage to seek it. Irfan spent the next few days in a mix of excitement and nervous anticipation. The Wanderlight was no longer just a broken ship. It felt alive, as though it recognized him. Every panel he touched, every switch he flipped, seemed to respond with a subtle hum, a vibration, a faint pulse of energy that made the air itself feel charged. Unit 7 moved around him with precision, following commands silently but occasionally speaking fragments of memory that hinted at the ship's mysterious past. "Operator," Unit 7 said one morning as Irfan worked on reconnecting the ship's main power relay, "partial memory retrieval suggests previous mission was critical to human survival. Unknown parameters remain." Irfan paused, screwdriver in hand. "Critical to human survival? What does that mean? You can't just say that without explaining." Unit 7's glowing eyes focused on him. "Explanation incomplete. Data locked within primary core. Access requires alignment with operator DNA." Irfan shook his head and muttered, "I'm an engineer, not a captain of lost civilizations." Yet despite his doubts, he felt a strange pull, a connection that went beyond circuits and metal. The ship and the robot were waiting for him to uncover something. He turned his attention to the engines. The main reactor was old, corroded, and partially disconnected. But as he reattached the last conduit, the reactor hummed to life with a low, steady rhythm. The ship vibrated softly beneath his feet. A panel flickered with unfamiliar symbols that he couldn't read, but the patterns were intricate and precise. The Wanderlight seemed almost to be breathing. Unit 7 hovered beside him. "Warning, unknown systems active. Potential threat unknown. Recommend operator caution." Irfan nodded, a mixture of fear and awe rising in him. He had fixed countless machines before, but this was different. This was more than mechanical repair. The ship seemed intelligent, aware, and perhaps even alive. That night, as the twin moons rose above the colony, casting pale light across the workshop, Irfan couldn't sleep. His mind kept returning to the strange symbols, the ship's reactions, and Unit 7's cryptic statements. He felt that the Wanderlight held secrets that were waiting to be revealed, secrets that could change everything he thought he knew about humanity and the stars. He returned to the ship and ran his hands along the walls of the cabin. The ship was quiet, but not completely silent. Faint hums echoed through the corridors, a resonance that seemed almost like a heartbeat. He thought of the words Unit 7 had spoken. Partial alignment detected. Core directive incomplete. "What are you hiding, old friend?" he whispered to the robot. Unit 7's eyes glowed brighter for a moment. Core memory locked. Activation restricted to authorized operator. Fragments accessible only through proximity and engagement with ship systems. Irfan frowned. Proximity and engagement? That doesn't even make sense. Yet, something in the robot's tone made him trust its words. He began exploring more of the ship's interior, searching for systems he hadn't touched, corridors he hadn't opened. Some doors were locked with strange panels that responded to his touch with lights and faint vibrations. Other areas revealed old storage compartments filled with supplies and equipment that seemed centuries out of date. He found a small room behind one panel, filled with shelves of metal boxes. Inside each box were components that he couldn't identify, circuit boards etched with patterns that seemed too complex for human design, small spheres that pulsed with faint energy, and devices that appeared almost alive. He had seen old alien relics in simulations and archives, but this was different. This was human-made, yet far beyond anything current technology could replicate. Unit 7 hovered near him, silent for the first time in hours. Then, almost softly, it said, "These items, remnants of preservation protocol, intended for recovery by designated operator." Irfan stared at the robot. "Designated operator? That's me, isn't it?" Unit 7's eyes glowed steadily. "Confirmed. Operator matches historical authorization signature. Activation of core systems permissible." The words made Irfan's chest tighten. This was no longer about repairing a ship or waking up a robot. Something much larger was at stake. He felt a mixture of fear and excitement that made his hands shake as he ran his fingers over a small, intricate panel near the floor. The panel responded immediately, sliding open to reveal a small compartment. Inside was a sphere, crystal-like, glowing faintly with a soft blue light. Irfan reached out, and as his fingers brushed its surface, a jolt of energy ran through his arm. He nearly pulled back, but Unit 7's voice steadied him. "Do not retract. Core interface detected operator signature. Connection required for activation." Irfan swallowed hard. "Activation for what?" Unit 7's eyes glowed brighter, illuminating the corridor. "For preservation of knowledge, for the survival of humanity, for continuity of legacy. Operator authorized to access core vault. Activation recommended." Irfan's mind reeled. Survival of humanity? Continuity of legacy? He had spent his life fixing machines, repairing old tech, and keeping people alive in small ways. But this was something different. This was monumental. And yet, he felt an unexplainable calm. He had been chosen. Somehow, all of this had been waiting for him. He took a deep breath and pressed his hand fully against the sphere. Light expanded, filling the corridor and casting reflections across the walls. He felt information entering his mind, not in words, but as understanding, an instinctive grasp of knowledge encoded within the sphere. Star charts, navigation coordinates, technical schematics, even biological data that seemed impossibly detailed. It was overwhelming, but he absorbed it, letting the ship guide him. Unit 7 spoke softly, almost like a whisper in the midst of the light. "Core interface complete. Primary directive restored. Warning, external monitoring detected. Threat proximity unknown." Irfan stepped back, blinking in the sudden darkness as the sphere's glow dimmed. He felt the weight of what he now knew. The Wanderlight was not just a transport ship. It was a guardian, a vessel designed to protect something immensely important, and he was now its captain, whether he wanted the responsibility or not. The next day, the ship began to behave in ways that made Irfan both excited and uneasy. Systems he had not touched powered on automatically. Doors opened when he approached, lights followed him as he moved, and panels displayed star charts that updated in real time. It was as if the ship itself was learning, reacting to him, guiding him. Unit 7's behavior also changed. It no longer waited for instructions. It anticipated his actions, offered suggestions, and occasionally spoke of fragments from its memory. Previous captain hid critical data within core vault. External entities searching. Protocols dormant until activation by authorized operator. Irfan frowned. External entities? Searching for what? Unit 7's eyes glowed steadily. Seed core, primary directive, legacy preservation, unknown threats detected. The words hung in the air like a warning. Irfan realized that the Wanderlight was more than a relic. It was a beacon, and its presence might attract attention from forces he could not yet imagine. He spent hours scanning the skies from the ship's observation deck, trying to detect any anomalies, but nothing appeared. Still, the unease persisted. One evening, as he adjusted a navigation array, a strange pattern of light appeared on the bridge wall. It wasn't a malfunction, it was deliberate. Symbols and lines formed a map, highlighting locations he did not recognize. He turned to Unit 7. "What is this?" he asked. Unit 7's eyes pulsed softly. "Ancient star map, partial coordinates to hidden locations. Locations contain critical resources and knowledge for humanity's future." Irfan felt a thrill of awe. Hidden resources, knowledge, lost technology. It was everything he had dreamed of finding in the simulations and archives, yet he never imagined it could exist in a forgotten ship like this. Days passed, and Irfan worked tirelessly. He repaired circuits, tested engines, and explored every accessible part of the ship. Unit 7 guided him through maintenance procedures, but it also began to reveal more of its history. "I was assigned to protect Core Vault," it explained one afternoon. "Previous captain encrypted directives within my memory. Core activation requires alignment with bloodline. Operator match identified as Irfan Halim." Irfan stared at the robot, stunned. "Bloodline? Are you saying I'm related to the last captain?" Unit 7's eyes glowed with certainty. "Confirmed. Partial genetic alignment verified. Activation of full protocols authorized." Irfan felt a strange mixture of fear and pride. He had never imagined his quiet life as an engineer would lead to something like this. The Wanderlight and Unit 7 had waited centuries for him, for someone capable of understanding and unlocking their secrets. And now, with the ship's systems nearly alive and the core vault partially revealed, he realized that his life would never be the same. That night, he stood on the observation deck, gazing at the stars. The twin moons hung low, casting silver light across the ship's hull. He felt a pulse beneath his feet, a vibration that seemed almost alive. The Wanderlight was waking up, and with it, a legacy that spanned centuries. Unit 7 hovered beside him. "Operator, external scanning indicates unusual activity. Potential threats approaching. Recommend preparation for immediate response." Irfan swallowed hard, gripping the railing. "Threats? What kind of threats?" Unit 7's voice was calm but firm. "Entities seeking core vault. Unknown capabilities. Caution advised." For the first time, Irfan felt the weight of responsibility pressing on him. He had restored an old ship and awakened a robot, but now he realized that he was part of something far larger. A mission to protect knowledge, to preserve humanity's legacy, and perhaps to defend against forces beyond his comprehension. Yet despite the fear, A spark of determination ignited within him. He was not just an engineer anymore. He was the captain of the Wanderlight, the chosen operator of Unit 7, and the protector of a secret older than the colony itself. And for the first time in his life, he felt ready to face whatever lay ahead. As the ship thrummed beneath him and Unit 7 stood silently at his side, Irfan Halim understood one undeniable truth. His adventure had only just begun. The Wanderlight and its robot companion were alive, and together they would uncover the secrets buried deep within the core vault, secrets that could change the fate of humanity itself. The days following the activation of the core interface were unlike anything Irfan had ever experienced. The Wanderlight felt alive in every sense, a machine that breathed, listened, and even seemed to think with him. Unit 7 moved with a new fluidity, its sensors constantly scanning the ship and its surroundings. Irfan had begun to understand that this was more than a vessel. It was a guardian, a repository of lost knowledge, and now, under his guidance, it was awakening fully. One morning, Irfan returned to the bridge to find the star charts, flickering in a pattern he had never seen before. They formed lines that connected points across the galaxy, each star pulsing faintly as though waiting for him to follow. Unit 7 hovered beside him, its blue glow steady. "Operator," it said. "Coordinates revealed within star map. Hidden location detected. Verification suggests presence of core vault access point." Irfan leaned closer, tracing the lines on the holographic map with his fingers. "A core vault. Here?" Unit 7 nodded. "Confirmed. Access restricted. Physical interface required." Irfan's heart began to race. He had been prepared for strange systems, for ancient technology. But a core vault? He had imagined something like this in simulations and archives, but it always felt distant, a dream. Now, it was real, and the ship had guided him to it. He followed the map through corridors he had never noticed before. As he walked, the ship seemed to respond, doors sliding open without prompting, lights illuminating his path, and small vibrations beneath his feet guiding him forward. He reached a wall at the far end of the lower deck. It was solid metal, but unlike the rest of the ship, it was smooth, unbroken by panels or markings. Irfan ran his hands across the surface, feeling a faint warmth beneath the cold metal. "This must be it," he whispered. Unit 7 hovered closer. "Core vault entry detected. Operator interaction required." Irfan pressed his hand against the wall. At first, nothing happened. Then, the metal seemed to ripple like water, shifting and dissolving into light. A doorway appeared, revealing a chamber bathed in a soft, glowing blue light. The room was circular, with a single object suspended in the center, a crystal-like sphere encased in a magnetic frame, pulsating gently as if alive. Irfan stepped inside, awestruck. The sphere seemed to radiate knowledge, calling to him in a way he could not yet understand. Unit 7 moved to his side. "Operator," it said, "the core vault contains the humanity seed core. Primary directive: preserve human knowledge, star maps, biological data, and critical technology. Intended for recovery by authorized operator only." Irfan swallowed hard. The words sank into him like a weight and a promise at the same time. He had been chosen for this. Somehow his life as a simple engineer had led him to this moment, and now the responsibility was his. He stepped closer to the sphere. As he reached out, a pulse of energy ran through his body, and information flooded his mind. Star charts, coordinates, genetic sequences, and complex schematics entered his consciousness. It was overwhelming, but he understood them instinctively. The Wanderlight seemed to hum in approval, its systems syncing with the core. Unit 7 spoke again, softer this time. "Primary mission restored. External threats detected. Entities seeking core vault presence approaching. Operator action required." Irfan's stomach tightened. He had suspected that the activation of the core would draw attention. But now it was confirmed. Something, or someone, was coming. He didn't know who or what, but he could sense the presence through the ship's sensors, fast-moving, precise, and relentless. He stepped back from the sphere, trying to steady himself. "Unit 7, can we defend this ship?" The robot's eyes glowed with calm certainty. "Wanderlight systems fully operational. Defensive protocols available. Operator alignment required for full activation." Irfan nodded, a mixture of fear and determination filling him. He had trained for small repairs and engineering challenges all his life, but he had never imagined a test like this. And yet, deep down, he knew he could rise to it. He returned to the bridge and activated the control interface, feeling the ship respond instantly to his presence. The panels flickered to life, displaying sensor readings and threat vectors. Outside, he could see faint blips in space, small, fast ships moving in formation, closing in on the colony. They were precise, and their trajectory suggested they knew exactly where to go. "Corthan observers," Unit 7 said, almost casually. "Ancient enemies of humanity, previously encountered in archival records. Objective, acquire core vault. Lethal force likely." Irfan's mind raced. The Corthan had been legends, stories told to warn explorers of dangers beyond known space, and now they were real, approaching the very ship he had awakened. He gripped the console, taking a deep breath. "All right, Unit 7, show me what we've got." The robot's sensors scanned the incoming ships and displayed their positions and probable capabilities. "Operator, defensive measures recommended. Shields at 60%. Tactical array online. Weapons calibration pending." Irfan reached for the control panel, feeling the ship hum beneath his hands. Lights flickered, panels shifted, and the engines responded instantly. The Wanderlight was awakening fully, responding to his command. It wasn't just a ship anymore. It was a partner. The first of the Corthan ships appeared outside, sleek and dark, almost predatory. They moved with precision, scanning the colony below, seeking the core. Irfan activated the ship's shields, feeling the energy ripple through the hull. The ship responded perfectly, adjusting power distribution automatically. Unit 7's voice cut through the tense hum of systems. "Operator, defensive maneuver protocols available. Suggest immediate evasive action." Irfan nodded. He had spent years fixing machines, but now he was piloting one that had intelligence of its own. He guided the Wanderlight upward, rising above the colony, dodging the first scans of the approaching ships. The Corthan pursued relentlessly, their engines glowing faintly against the darkness of space. As the chase continued, Irfan began to understand the ship in a new way. The Wanderlight wasn't just following his commands, it was anticipating them. Doors and panels inside shifted automatically to optimize weight distribution. The engines adjusted their output for maximum speed and efficiency, and Unit 7 moved through the ship, ensuring every system was in top condition. Hours passed, though time felt distorted. Irfan moved with the ship, thinking and acting as one. He initiated defensive protocols, and the Wanderlight responded with precise maneuvers that seemed impossible for an old transport vessel. He realized that this ship, though ancient, was designed for more than transport. It was a guardian, a protector of something immensely important. The Corthan ships were relentless, but the Wanderlight's systems kept them at bay. Shields absorbed energy blasts, engines propelled them through space with astonishing speed, and the star charts projected by the core revealed safe pathways and ambush points. Irfan began to feel a thrill he had never experienced before. He was no longer just an engineer. He was the captain of a living ship, the protector of a secret older than the colony itself. Unit 7 guided him through the final approach to the core vault location. "Operator, proximity threshold reached. Core vault activation imminent. Prepare for potential boarding attempts." Irfan's heart pounded. He had faced challenges before, but none like this. The fate of the core, the ship, and perhaps humanity itself rested in his hands. He activated the final protocols, feeling the Wanderlight respond instantly. Shields glowed brighter, engines roared with newfound power, and the ship seemed to vibrate with anticipation. Then, with a final surge, the Wanderlight entered the hidden location revealed by the core. The walls shimmered with energy, and the crystal sphere pulsed brightly. Irfan stepped closer, feeling the immense power emanating from the core. Unit 7 hovered beside him, its eyes steady. "Operator," it said, "the core is fully accessible. All directives restored. External threats neutralization protocols active." Irfan reached out and touched the sphere. Knowledge flowed into him: star charts, schematics, data on lost human colonies, biological archives, and instructions for technologies long forgotten. He could feel the weight of responsibility, but also the incredible opportunity. Humanity had survived, thrived, and evolved because of this knowledge, and now it was his task to protect it. Outside, the Corthan ships paused, scanning the area. The Wanderlight's presence was a challenge they had not anticipated. The ship shifted slightly, projecting energy waves that disrupted their sensors. Irfan felt the ship responding, not with aggression, but with precise, non-lethal deterrence. Unit 7's voice was calm. "Operator, core vault secured. Threats delayed, immediate departure recommended." Irfan nodded. He had faced the first real test, and the Wanderlight had passed with him. But he knew this was only the beginning. The galaxy was vast, full of dangers and wonders, and he, along with Unit 7 and the Wanderlight, now carried the knowledge and responsibility to protect humanity's legacy. As the ship lifted into open space, moving away from the colony, Irfan looked at the stars. The core pulsed softly, a reminder of the vast potential and the secrets yet to be discovered. He felt a sense of awe, fear, and determination. He was no longer a simple engineer. He was a captain, a protector, and a witness to the mysteries of the galaxy. Unit 7 hovered beside him, its glowing eyes steady. "Operator," it said, "destiny awaits. Humanity's future secured. For now." Irfan smiled, feeling the weight and the promise of what lay ahead. He gripped the console, ready to guide the Wanderlight, ready to face the unknown, and ready to uncover every secret hidden in the core vault. And as the ship moved through the stars, he realized that this was only the beginning of an adventure that would take him beyond the edges of the galaxy, into the heart of forgotten worlds, and toward a destiny that had waited centuries for him to awaken. Irfan Halim felt a mix of fear and determination as the Wanderlight moved through the stars. The core vault pulsed softly behind him, a reminder of the incredible knowledge and responsibility now entrusted to him. Unit 7 hovered at his side, its sensors scanning the void, monitoring the faint blips of the approaching Corthan ships. "They are close," Unit 7 said calmly, its voice steady. "Estimated arrival within standard operational time, 6 minutes. Probability of direct engagement, high." Irfan swallowed hard, gripping the console. "Unit 7, can the Wanderlight handle them? I mean, really handle them?" Unit 7's eyes glowed brighter. "Operator, defensive and offensive protocols fully functional. Core alignment with operator confirmed. Probability of successful neutralization, favorable if operator acts decisively." Irfan took a deep breath. He had learned to trust the ship, to feel its responses as if they were part of him. The Wanderlight was alive, but it was also a machine, and now it had chosen him as its captain. He could not fail, not now. The first of the Corthan ships appeared on the sensors, a sleek black vessel with sharp edges and glowing red engines. It moved with deadly precision, scanning for any sign of the core. Its weapon systems were active, and the sensors indicated that it had already locked on to the Wanderlight. "Evasive maneuvers?" Irfan asked, already moving his hands across the control panels. Unit 7's voice was calm but urgent. Recommended. Initiating evasive trajectory guidance. The ship surged forward, engines roaring, as the Corthan fired a beam of energy that streaked across space. The shield absorbed it with a shimmer, rippling across the hull like water. Irfan felt the vibration through the floor as the ship flexed under the impact. He guided it carefully, following Unit 7's instructions, weaving through asteroids and debris to avoid being an easy target. The chase intensified. The Corthan ships moved with terrifying speed, anticipating his maneuvers. But the Wanderlight was alive in a way that surprised even him. It adjusted its trajectory, its engines pulsing with energy, its shields responding instinctively to each attack. Unit 7 coordinated defensive actions, redirecting power where it was needed most. "They are adapting," Unit 7 said. "Operator must act beyond standard protocols." Irfan's mind raced. He had never been a fighter, had never commanded a ship in battle. But he felt something inside him shift, a spark of courage, the same spark that had guided him to this ship, to this moment. He realized that he had to trust not only the ship, but also himself. He activated the ship's tactical array, a series of devices that had been dormant until now. Energy beams projected from the hull, forming a protective lattice around the Wanderlight. Sensors projected illusions, decoys of the ship that confused the Corthan's targeting systems. The first few enemy shots missed entirely, striking only empty space. "They are recalibrating," Unit 7 warned. "Operator, offensive countermeasures available." Irfan nodded. He guided the ship into a daring maneuver, diving into an asteroid field with the Corthan in pursuit. The rocks provided cover, forcing the enemy ships to slow and navigate carefully. He activated the Wanderlight's pulse emitters, sending bursts of energy that disoriented the Corthan sensors. One by one, the enemy vessels faltered, their movements less precise. Unit 7 spoke, its tone proud but measured. "Operator, offensive measures optimal. Probability of neutralization increasing." Irfan's heart pounded. He had never imagined controlling such a ship in battle, yet it felt natural now. Every command he issued was met with immediate response. The ship flexed, dodged, and struck with precision. He realized that the Wanderlight was not just a vessel, it was a guardian, a protector of humanity's secrets, and now, a weapon against those who would misuse them. The final Corthan ship approached, larger and more menacing than the others. Its weapons glowed intensely, and sensors indicated a direct path toward the core vault. Irfan felt a surge of fear but also determination. He could not let them reach the core. "Unit 7, full defensive mode, now!" he commanded. The ship responded instantly. Shields flared, engines roared, and the hull seemed to vibrate with energy. Energy beams projected from the ship in a wide arc, forming a barrier that the Corthan could not penetrate. The final enemy vessel fired relentlessly, but each shot was absorbed or deflected. Irfan guided the Wanderlight in a precise spiral, using the core's energy to enhance the ship's defensive capabilities. The Corthan ship faltered, its systems overwhelmed by the energy pulses. With a coordinated surge, the Wanderlight fired a controlled blast, disabling the enemy vessel without destroying it entirely. The ship spun out of control and drifted away, defeated, but intact. Breathing heavily, Irfan watched the enemy ships retreat. The immediate threat was gone, but he knew this was only the beginning. The Corthan observers would return, and other dangers would surely follow. But for now, the Wanderlight had proven its power, and he had proven his own. Unit 7 hovered beside him, its glowing eyes steady. "Operator, core vault secured. Primary mission accomplished. Probability of further engagement high, but manageable with continued vigilance." Irfan nodded, feeling a mixture of relief and awe. He had faced his first real test, and he had succeeded. The Wanderlight had responded to him, protecting its secrets, and in doing so it had revealed something incredible: humanity's resilience, ingenuity, and potential. He turned to the core vault, its crystal sphere still pulsating softly. The knowledge it contained was immense, far beyond what any colony could imagine. Star maps, technology, biological archives, all preserved for the future. He understood now that this was more than a ship, more than a mission. It was a legacy, entrusted to him and Unit 7, a gift from the past to safeguard the future. "We did it," he whispered, almost to himself. "We really did it." Unit 7's eyes glowed in agreement. "Affirmative. Operator, the journey ahead will require continued vigilance, exploration, and protection of the core. Potential allies and threats exist beyond current sensor range." Irfan looked out at the stars, feeling a sense of wonder and responsibility. He had been chosen, not for skill in battle or political power, but for his ability to understand, adapt, and care. The Wanderlight and Unit 7 had waited centuries for someone like him, someone capable of awakening the ship, understanding its secrets, and defending the legacy of humanity. He realized that this was only the beginning. The galaxy was vast, filled with mysteries, dangers, and opportunities. With the Wanderlight and Unit 7 at his side, he could explore lost human colonies, recover forgotten knowledge, and protect humanity from threats beyond imagination. The ship pulsed softly beneath him, as if affirming his thoughts. It was alive, and it had chosen him. The core vault's energy seemed to flow into every system, guiding him, teaching him, preparing him for the challenges ahead. Days turned into weeks as Irfan and Unit 7 began to chart a course through nearby systems. They discovered abandoned colonies, hidden resources, and remnants of technology that had been lost for centuries. Each discovery strengthened their bond and increased Irfan's understanding of the Wanderlight's capabilities. The ship could repair itself to a degree, analyze unknown technology, and even predict environmental hazards. Unit 7 guided him in restoring small colonies, helping the survivors understand the legacy stored in the core. Together, they repaired failing systems, distributed knowledge, and sparked hope in places that had long been forgotten. Irfan began to see the true purpose of the Wanderlight and its core. It was not merely a ship or a repository of knowledge, it was a beacon, a symbol of humanity's potential to endure and thrive. As they traveled, they encountered remnants of the Corthan observers, who still searched for the core vault. Each encounter tested their skill, strategy, and the bond between Irfan and the ship. But each time they emerged victorious, using intelligence, agility, and the Wanderlight's advanced systems to outmaneuver and neutralize the threats. Irfan's confidence grew, but so did his respect for the responsibility he carried. The Wanderlight was powerful, but it was not invincible. The core was a treasure that demanded protection, and he understood that the safety of humanity's legacy rested in his hands. One evening, as they rested near a quiet star system, Irfan stood on the observation deck, gazing at the nebulae that stretched across the horizon. The ship thrummed softly beneath him, its energy flowing through every panel and corridor. Unit 7 hovered silently, its eyes glowing in the dim light. "I never imagined this," Irfan said softly. "That I would be here, guiding a ship like this, protecting something so important." Unit 7's voice was calm and steady. "Operator, you were chosen because of your abilities, your understanding, and your willingness to act. The Wanderlight has always sought the right bearer. That bearer is you." Irfan nodded, feeling the weight and the promise of the journey ahead. He had grown beyond the life of a simple engineer. He was a captain, a protector, a guardian of humanity's past, present, and future. As the stars stretched endlessly before them, Irfan realized that the Wanderlight, Unit 7, and the core were not merely tools or relics. They were symbols of what humanity could achieve when knowledge, courage, and purpose aligned. And with that realization, he knew that no matter what challenges awaited, he would face them, guided by the wisdom of the past and the power of the ship he now commanded. The galaxy was vast, full of danger and opportunity. But Irfan Halim, alongside the Wanderlight and Unit 7, was ready. Together, they would explore forgotten worlds, defend humanity's legacy, and uncover secrets that had waited centuries to be discovered. And somewhere in the stars, new beginnings awaited, shining bright with the promise of hope, knowledge, and the unyielding spirit of humanity. With a final glance at the core vault, Irfan set the ship's course toward the unknown. The Wanderlight responded instantly, engines glowing softly, shields humming in harmony with the core. Unit 7 hovered beside him, ready to act at a moment's notice. And as the ship surged into the star-strewn void, Irfan knew that the adventure had only just begun, and that the galaxy held wonders he had never dreamed possible. Together they moved forward, not just as man and machine, but as partners, guardians, and pioneers, carrying the legacy of humanity into the uncharted depths of space, ready to face whatever challenges the stars would bring.